Welcome back. Well, there was looting of government facilities which continued yesterday in Lokoja, Kogi State capital. Residents besieged a warehouse in Zone 8 to help themselves to relieve materials stored there. But a similar incident occurred on Sunday night at ADP warehouse when it was invaded and several bags of fertilizer, water pumps, bags of rice seedlings were carted away. There were sporadic gunshots, which led to people scampering for safety, closing shops along Murtala Muhammad Way. The police public relations officer, Mr. William Yahaya, did say that the gunshots were from hoodlums who were trying to scare people away and that they are working to ensure that they get onto them because they are on their tail. Well, this morning we've been joined by His Excellency Yahaya Bello, Governor of Kogi State, to shed some light on what is going on. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Chamberlain, and your members there. Good morning, viewers.
All right, so looking at this whole scenario, well, of course, the big question is why? How come these materials were in those warehouses, which eventually then led to people looting them? What's the reason behind this?
Thank you very much. I think this is one question that will require me to start from the beginning. How come the whole of this situation and this scenario and the country? You see, when unfortunate incidents of this nature happens, let's get to the root of the matter, not just treating the surface. You will recall early this year that an alien disease called COVID was imported into this country. And I spoke, I cautioned, I warned, I advised against this COVID-19 of a thing and the management of it. My advice was never heeded to. Those who planned the whole scenario of COVID never listened to a little voice like ours. They went ahead. Nigerians were ill-advised. We were confused. We were misdirected. And here we have one of the very many effects of that unfortunate decision. Now we had COVID at hand, a glorified malaria. Billions of naira, billions of dollars were siphoned by few individuals.
Do you know these individuals?
To a certain level.
Please. Are they Nigerians?
I'm coming. Let me just take it there. They are Nigerians. They are Nigerians in government and outside the government, in business empires, and very few middlemen. Billions were siphoned. I'll zero it down to your question. But before then, Kogi State is the only state that refused to accept that there is COVID-19 that would kill people. If there's COVID-19, it emanates from China. China has long grown and has gone beyond the issue of COVID-19. I did say that COVID-19 is political. I did say that COVID-19 has economic undertone and several others, and political undertone. We are seeing it has come to play, but we're still not addressing it. We're still blindfolded and we're still following. I did remember that there are so many scholars and experts who said that if recession is the only effect that we have from this lockdown as a result of the unfortunate COVID-19, then we'll be grateful for it. We're still in the same year. We have still locked down and the effect of it. Youths are locked down at home, doing nothing. ASU on strike. Youths are locked down at home. Hike and hype in crimes and criminality. Now comes the idea of palliative for those that were locked down. Remember in Kogi State, we didn't lock down because we had no COVID-19. We allowed people to go about their businesses. And there was peace and orderliness in Kogi State. And we were healthy. Now, the issue of palliative came in one of these meetings when the captains of industries came together to assist those that were locked down, unfortunately. I will make it clearly known that not every governor supported the issue of that palliative, the way and manner it was handled. And I am one of those that did not support that idea, especially the way and manner it was handled. For crying out loud, why would a governor hoard palliative? Remember, I am 5 years running now into this in this government. From the one that I came into office, and those who care to know my background, I have been doing palliative before coming into office. And ever since I came into office, we've been carrying out various palliatives and support systems for our people, for the less privileged, for the deprived, unfortunate Nigerians. Be it Christmas, Salah, Easter, festivities,
Well,
and
Your Excellency, we appreciate you're trying to give us a background.
Interventions.
Yeah, we appreciate you're trying to give us a background. But what happened in this particular incident? Because you laid on so many things that we need to take up on.
I'm coming there. Please, I want to, because this is an opportunity, a very golden opportunity for me to address Nigerians. Let us actually know, let's address the youth. I am the #1 youth in government today. Whether anybody likes it or not, it is by the special grace of God Almighty. And I must say the truth so that I'll be vindicated once again. We have been doing all of this palliative, and so all other governors, whether APC or PDP, we do all these palliatives and the rest. So why would the governor hoard those things? How much are you going to make out of it? We did canvass that various assistance that wants to be given should be channeled to various governors as he or she deemed fit. Why would you bring me rice when I have confluence rice here? Why would you ship gari to me when my women here, we have cassava here and we're producing gari here? Why would you send Maggi to me when we have other local dealers here that I can buy from? And that is what we've been doing as me in Kogi State here. And I know very well of other state governors who do same. And there has never been this chaos. There has never been this pandemonium. There has never been this crisis. Now, those COVID materials were brought, handled by them. It's so unfortunate that even we among us, the governors, we don't so much trust each other because of very few interests. To the extent that we are allowing ourselves to be ridiculed. You're bringing three trailers of rice or whatever to me, and you want to do pre and post audits. What an embarrassment. And here, this is where we found ourselves. Whether we like it or not, truth is truth.
So if I could ask you this one, Your Excellency, don't worry, we'll have some time.
Those items were brought to us, and they say that they must come and flag it off. Imagine that. They must come and flag it off, those COVID items. 3 trailers, 5 trailers at most to some bigger states. They must come and flag it off. Since when? And Nigerians know that food items are in these stores. But in Kogi State, what we did, we started sharing our palliative because it's what we do every now and then.
So before you move on to that next point, so if we could understand what you're saying, now from some of the background you've given, at least this last few minutes, that suggests that the governors and the CACOVID committee were not on the same page in terms of how these materials or the kind of materials they needed to send first, how the materials needed to be distributed, procedures and management of all of those. So they just didn't agree And that suggests then that some governors now felt, well, fine, if you're going to have to wait or treat us the way you're treating us because of these palliatives, we might as well just leave it right there. Is that what happened?
Thank you very much. You see, when decisions are taken at a certain fora, or let me say in a forum, and it is taken, I mean, sometimes you can't come out and say, no, social decisions are taken and I'm not part of it. But when it goes, wrong, I think it's better we speak out. It's better we speak out. Let me tell you that not all of us as governors are on the same page with that decision and the way and manner. Of course, it's not our money. It is not state money, so it is their money. They put it together and they decided with few governors and decided to go that way. And then those of us who feel otherwise, because we do some of those things on our own periodically, we decided to be sharing. In my state, in Kogi State, we shared those palliatives to various local governments. What happened is that out of 21 local governments, only one, which is local, the one where we are in now, started sharing theirs. But because of the bad media we have today and the social media, one thing is happening here and it is echoed everywhere. Somebody in the social media now just put it out there. Oh, there's store here, there's store there, there's store there in Kogi State. Go there and then loot. Then people became impatient with the local government that are sharing there, which is Lokoja local government. And then we have to now wade in to ensure that there's speedy distribution. And it was distributed, very, smoothly. Only, to discover that in the night, some imported hoodlums and criminals, started vandalizing the ADP warehouse, where chemicals and other, agrochemicals, fertilizers, farm implements were stored. Remember, just about 2 weeks ago, about within 10 days now, we launched about 3 different agricultural programs in Kogi State. And even though, unfortunately, channels never aired one of it, but, quick to air, vandalization of items. So now they went there to vandalize those items. Law enforcement agencies swiftly moved into, to our rescue and recovered those items. The following day, they went to where relief materials were kept. Just recently, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and NEMA visited us as a result of flooding.
Yeah, but Your Excellency, pardon me.
Relief materials.
I'm trying to understand which incident occurred that you say channels didn't cover.
We launched 100 tractors. We launched appeals program and one other program like that, all in agriculture. In appeals program, we cluster farmers. We encourage youths and women that are going to access 2 million naira each to come together and have a common facility to use in a farm. So what we did is that across the state, we were able to identify various farms, open farm, clear lands for them, empower them with this 2 million naira each.
Yeah, but Your Excellency,
at least 100 youths per local government.
If you say that wasn't covered, that was on the Your Excellency, just a minute, Your Excellency, that was on the 18th of October. That was on the 18th of October. And take a look at the screen now, because when they accuse the media of not doing this, look at this. This was aired on the 18th of October. Channels covered it. So maybe your media people didn't give you that information. Yes, governors are busy, but that's it right there.
Okay. Thank you very much for that.
It was covered.
So now, these were you can see, thank you very much for this. So these were the programs we launched, and we kept those materials over there and we're distributing it, to our youth and women gradually. And then these hoodlums, these criminals went to vandalize them. That is palliatives.
Let me ask you this. Now, we know that there was some sort of, I think the ministry, humanitarian ministry, in April this year, the state received some palliatives from that ministry. And then, others received by the government from Kakovit. So if you were not on the same page, number one, why is it that the governors couldn't say, look, I'm not on the same page with this. I don't agree with this. We don't have to be forced to abide by these things that we are not happy with, because you're the number one person in the state. You are responsible for your state in terms of how things go. So how come you didn't say, well, look, if you're bringing it in and we're not happy with the way you're bringing it, set up your team, your agency, whatever it is in the states, go ahead, distribute these things yourselves, as opposed to leaving them in the warehouse for months and then it had to come to this.
We did not receive those materials in April. Those materials were not received in all the states, or majority of the states in April. Some of them were as late as even September.
Yes,
this
September
year.
16, and some
And
of them
I could
April.
Exactly. And because it is what we, Kogi State, that's what we do. If you look at those materials, they're not just COVID items, especially from these warehouses. There are other foodstuff that on our own we have purchased to take care of, IDPs, motherless, homes, less privileged. This is what we do periodically. And only to realize that even the COVID stuff that were provided or supplied are already expiring. And then I have to order them that, look, add it to what we are distributing and share it across the local government. And they were done very smoothly. And I want to believe so also other states. So it is not as if governors are hoarding those items. But please, let me quickly go into this. These are just one of the effects of this so-called COVID-19. Let's not just gloss over it or just be reacting based on the impulse of the moment.
Well,
Dear Nigerians, let me tell you, and my brother, what is happening today, so-called NSAS, is politically motivated. Whether anybody say it or not, I am saying it once again, and quote me anywhere, any day. And I'll
why
prove
do
it
you
to
say so?
Why would you demand for 5 items, 5 for 5, and you are granted and refuse to take it? Which struggle, which agitation, which uprising across the world has ever succeeded without leadership?
But
that is number one.
Are you saying, just one moment, Your Excellency, are you saying that you do not agree with the agitations of the protesters?
100% I agreed. 100%. But if you look at what is happening today, then you have no option that to classify it as politically motivated. And let me tell you, this is a ploy to set we the youth of this country
sorry, Your
against
Excellency,
one another.
Your Excellency, just one moment. If you say that you are with them 100% and you are still saying that it is politically motivated, by whom?
But those who set them up. But the politicians who have hands in NSAS.
You know them?
But those who continue to shift the goalpost when the demands were met. But those who continue to profiteer from it.
But you know, part of what
who have set to profiteer from
part of what transpired, Your Excellency, which is equally out there, is that after SARS was scrapped, not long after, the police authorities did say, look, we're going to embark on training, retraining, and ensure things are done properly. But it wasn't equally long after, then there was this announcement of SWAT. Number one is that, did we see a list of all the members of SARS? Now, when you set up SWAT in a very short time, and people don't know why that was done, know the explanation or the reasons behind it, they were not aware of that. The impression was, how could you have set it up in such a short time? Who are going to be members of this SWAT? Isn't it just a name change? That was the way it came across, and people said, wait a minute, no, that this couldn't be. This was not the impression we have of the police hierarchy. So if they continue asking questions based on that, what's wrong with that?
A lot is wrong with that. You see, let me tell you, Chamberlain, you ask for end SARS. And remember, not everybody believes in ending the SARS. And if you say SARS are even wrong in doing one thing or the other, the best way to have agitated was to simply ask for the reform of the total security overhaul. a security architecture. In the military today, in the Air Force, in the Navy, even civil defense, there are bad eggs. Do you end those security outfits? That is number one. Number two, even in the media today, as good as social media is, it has its own disadvantages that has set even countries and nations, on collusion course. Do you end the media? We continue to ask for information. We continue to ask for information. Now, how do we? Okay, now SARS has been ended. Police morale has been dampened. They've gone off the streets. The hoodlums have taken over. Who do we report to? I think we should have articulated our points and go about it in a more credible way, not to be used by politicians. Look, Chamberlain, let me tell you whether we like it or not. You say that I say it again. This is 2023 playing out by few individuals who felt they can continue to use us in this country. And I am urging all the youths across the country to please return back home.
Well,
We are being used once again.
We'll go to break
This time
because
around, in a very dangerous way.
Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We still do have His Excellency Yahaya, Governor of Kogi State, on the show. Well, yes, many have listened to what you've said, but quite a number still wonder the key issue. Why? Because you may be talking about 2023 COVID, sundry issues, why, what, when, how people are being used, which we'll hope to come to before we end this segment. But importantly, those palliatives that were being looted by citizens, residents, in fact, in Kogi, there were gunshots. Now, as much as governors have put up their position, Kakovi does well, but it doesn't look good. They think that from what they have seen, they're not convinced that all that you have said wasn't deliberate hoarding of those items, because that was why who knows what transpired. So could you categorically tell us, because many think all of what happened could have been avoided. There was ample time to distribute those materials, but that didn't happen.
Thank you, Chamberlain. You're taking me back once again, and I'll go back and come back here quickly. You're talking of all this could have been avoided. Yes, all this could have been avoided if we had treated COVID-19 the way we treated Ebola in Nigeria. I will not sit down here as a governor and charge my commissioner of health not to allow Ebola into the state. And I'll sit in my office and tell me that one alien has sneaked in. I should give him 1.6 million naira to chase away the Ebola or the COVID-19. And he'll come back and tell me that that's spread. I'll fire him. And I'll make sure he faces the consequences. All of this brouhaha would have been avoided. That is number one. That's where we should start from. You see, we should stop treating effects. Let's start from the cause. At all times, if we want to get things right in this country. Now, coming to issue of all this would have been avoided in terms of this COVID-19 of a thing, that Nigerians are not believing us. Of course, that was the grand design to discredit governors. A grand design to discredit Mr. President. A grand design to set the youth against one another. Against a grand design to set the masses against one another. Look, time shall come, I will say a lot. I will say a lot. I have a lot in mind. I know too much, and I'll speak.
Before you say some of those other things, which we would like you to say, secondly is that if you say this is a grand design to discredit whoever, you didn't believe in COVID. I think Kogi State had only about 5 people overall, the 5 cases. Why did you accept the palliatives? Not once, not twice, but several.
Let me give you an example. This is not the first time we're receiving relief materials from well-spirited Nigerians. In most cases, you are asked to come and pick them and apply it your own way. But this is completely different. Relief material is just a tip of the iceberg. Let me tell you, let me reveal something to you. The federal government gave each state 1 billion each. The World Bank is poised, let me put it that way, to give each state 1.1 billion naira. The 1 billion from federal government, I accepted, because that is the federal government's fund to be given to quench or kill the effect of COVID-19. Remember, even though we had no one single COVID-19 case in Kogi State, that 5 in the number that you're talking of is NCD's figure. They can prove it any day, anytime. Now, even though we have no COVID-19 in Kogi State, but we are equally affected because our economy was equally affected. And federal government released those funds to assist every state. And I will not reject it. That is number one. Number two, the World Bank 1.1 billion. I was meant to sign a certain MOU, which I refer to as one-sided agreement or letter or document. And I refused. Go and check records. Do your investigative journalism. Kogi State is the only state that refused to sign that document for 1.1 billion. Because first, I did not believe in that COVID. What first 100 million has been disbursed, Kogi State didn't receive. And I refused to receive, and I rejected it. I don't know when the 1 billion will be disbursed. I will not receive it. So when you're talking of palliative, this is food stuff that we receive from various captains of industries every now and then.
Just to follow up on this particular
to give to
scenario.
our people.
Yeah, just pardon me. Let me just follow up on that before you move on to the next point. Hope you don't lose your train of thought.
Yeah.
We also heard from Grapevine that at some meeting with your colleagues, governors, that while some of these were being talked about, you requested to access some of those funds, and then they jokingly did ask you, but you don't believe in some of these funds, so why would you then want to accept this? Because they thought you would have blatantly said, I want no part of this, to stick to my principle. Did that happen?
You see, when in a meeting like this, before you start any meeting, you exchange jokes and banters. When it comes to reality, you tell yourself reality. Anybody that knows me, all my colleagues knows me very well. And of course, Nigerians are knowing me now today that I speak the truth and I act realistically. If I refuse to receive 1.1 billion because I don't believe in COVID-19, what is COVID? Indomie noodles and rice. So we've been receiving a lot of these palliative materials, from well-spirited Nigerians, and then we are using it for our people. Look, even in this particular COVID era, a copper donated a whole of her 1 month alawi in an account. And these are the accounts we use in setting up, in preparation for the setting up of isolation centers and other stuff. For the treatment, establishment of infectious disease control center that we have in Kogi State here today. For crying out loud, we are building billions of naira hospital. We call it reference hospital in Central. We're building over 2 billion naira general hospitals across the 3 senatorial districts.
Yeah, but Excellency, pardon me to pardon again.
1 billion naira of COVID.
Okay, but if much as you didn't believe and agree with what the agreement and how all of this went out, if you had maybe put in place mechanisms or facilities to ensure that they're distributed to the people, would that have destroyed anything? The economy, would they have achieved their purpose? Because you talk about 2023.
From the beginning, I have told you that we periodically share food items across Kogi State. And this time around, while in the continuation of sharing, which, in all the 21 local governments, local government was slow in the distribution of theirs. And because of the social media instigation, the people of Lokoja became agitated and impatient. I don't know if you are hearing me.
We can hear you.
They became very impatient, and then that was why we had to rush. We don't have to rush the distribution of the materials to them in Lokoja only.
When did you
Only
discover that
Lokoja.
they were? When did you discover
And
that
then
they
the
were
imported
slow?
hoodlums.
When did you discover they were slow?
In fact, it was basically on that day that I learned that look, there are a lot of crowd gathered in the warehouse. And I had to now ask why. Because other local government even decided to be sharing it house to house, community by community. And everything
So
went
you,
on very well.
so you didn't
Out
know.
of 21 local governments, only Lukodia,
You didn't know that Lokoja hadn't shared theirs up until
having this,
2 days
given the
ago.
responsibility to the local governments, having given the responsibilities to local government to handle, and the whole 20 local government, 20 out of 21 handled. Why should I be concerned so much about only one local government? Ordinary distribution of materials, which they
Well,
are used to doing periodically.
Your Excellency, talking about that
So it
periodic
is not any
activity.
issue over
Yes,
there.
just one
So
moment, Your
now,
Excellency.
yeah,
Over time, the information has always been out there about the poverty rate in the country. And northern Nigeria, largely all figures, all research points to the fact that the poverty rate, the poverty issue is much more serious in the northern part of Nigeria, which your state belongs to. Before COVID-19, how serious, in your opinion, was the poverty question, which was heightened by the fact that COVID-19 hit?
poverty is an endemic problem, not only in the northern part of the country, but across Nigeria. Because even if you look at it critically today, you don't isolate North alone to be poor. There's so much reached southern states where the whole of this breaking into the stores and shops, that's where it started from. In fact, if there's anybody or any of the hoodlums in the north or any other part that partake in this looting, they simply copied from the rich and very buoyant states. So
Yeah, but
it's a
Your
problem that
Excellency,
we inherited
the
anyway.
question I'm
But as a
asking,
government, we're
just one
dealing with it
moment. Yes,
squarely.
we understand. But the question that I'm asking, irrespective of whether or not it started anywhere, and I think it's an excuse for any one of us to say because it started in one area, I mean, it's nothing that anybody wants to validate as being good at all or not. But then that reaction by so many of these people who looted only indicated a bigger problem. Do you agree? What kind of problem do you think that action of these many people in a significant number of states in Nigeria, how serious do you think that reaction of these Nigerians looting this place, how serious a problem do you think it exposes?
Let me take it this way. You see, we shouldn't dwell too much on that. First, I agree that there's poverty. There's poverty in the country. We inherited it, starting from federal government to various state governments. We're doing our best to ensure that we tackle it. But if we're addressing issue of poverty as a result of, as an effect or with catalyst for this looting and what have you, what would you say of looting that took place recently in United States of America as a result of BLM, Black Lives Matter, and several other European countries? So let's not just make it peculiar to Kogi State or Nigeria alone. Yes, there's poverty, and that's why Mr. President has come up with several programs to address this poverty. That's why Kogi State, for instance, have come up with several programs: agriculture, medium and small scale enterprise. In fact, even youth, there's something we call youth empowerment or entrepreneurship fund that was just launched even of recent, in addition to the various SIPs of the federal government, in addition to the various programs by every state governor including APC and PDP governors. And my brother, my neighbor here, the Abga state. We're doing all of this to ensure that we pull our people out of the woods. This is a result of the maladministration of the previous. Even though people will say, don't talk about the previous. But if you don't know where you're coming from, how would you forge ahead? So these are the issues that we are grappling with. So it shouldn't be peculiar to Nigeria or northern part of the country or one particular session. It is a
Your
global
Excellency,
problem.
I get it that it is, and everyone agrees that it's a generic problem, it's a global problem, but it's not every country in the world that has been labeled poverty capital of the world. Nigeria is our own, and it's only significant that we pay attention to that. All of the actions of Mr. President and the various state governors notwithstanding, how significant, in your opinion, do you think the efforts being made over time to eradicate or deal with or reduce the poverty rate is, given all the looting that has happened? That's the question that I'm asking you.
In my opinion, all the programs from federal government to all the states governments, the efforts they are making to pull the people out of the woods are significant and very important. It just requires patience and concerted educating our people, enlightening them to be patient until we're able to get out of it. You see, labeling Nigeria as one of the capital, poverty capital of the world or poverty-stricken country across the world. You see, it is all about, putting figures together. Have you gone even through the America, the so-called America that everybody wants, that is called heaven today? You go there and see people, picking things along the street. Go to even India here that are borrowing people money. You go there and see people chasing rat up and down, and several other countries like that. So let's not talk down our country, for crying out loud. Nigeria is by far better than so many countries. All those ratings, it is just a matter of convenience and what anybody that is driving it wants to have.
Your
Nigeria
Excellency,
is doing well. We will
some
do
of
well. Please permit me this opportunity
right.
to say this. You see, let us not set ourselves against each other. There are very microscopic few who are either using one platform, either social media, conventional media, or exploring our ignorance and exploring the poverty of the country that are ravaging the country now, not only to profiteer, but to ensure that the good governance we are even demanding, the youth in governance that we are demanding, we never see it. Would you tomorrow trust the youth if we continue to set ourselves ablaze like this? Because that is exactly what they've come out and set to achieve.
All right,
I'm calling on all the youth of this country to please sheath their sword. Let us articulate and organize ourselves well. If we really want a better country and good governance, protest is good, it's allowed, I support it, I accept it. But we must organize ourselves and really see in between the lines that those who are there are not willing to hand over to the youths.
all right,
We
Your
must
Excellency,
organize
let me
ourselves,
bring
put
in this
ourselves
point.
together and take over.
Let me bring in this because there's a statement that was put out by Kakovid. So part of the statement read, we are aware that official flagging off and handover of the palliatives has taken place in 28 states and the FCT, and state governments have been distributing at various paces. As of today, October 26, 2020, that's when it was released, some states have confirmed completion of their distribution, while others were in the process of proceeding with the distribution before these looting took place. By these looting incidents, it meant that some intended beneficiaries had been deprived the opportunity of benefiting from Kakovid's good intentions. This clearly shows that, look, it's been, at the moment, it appears as though states who didn't distribute were at fault.
Well, I will not hold brief for any state that refuses to distribute. Maybe they have their own reason. But like I said, in Kogi State, we have been distributing. We have been having flood issues. We have been giving palliatives ever since we came into office. We didn't wait for COVID. And like I said, let Nigerians don't allow this issue to set us apart and against each other, because the intention is completely different.
Okay.
I did say this when COVID came into this country, that few people are going to profiteer, and that's what happened. And I'm saying it again, that few individuals are setting certain agenda for 2023. Now, from NSAS to hoodlums vandalizing COVID shops, to various, youths or people saying, IPOB, making statements. Various groups are making statements. This is unfortunate. It shouldn't be.
Your Excellency,
We must speak as Nigerians.
as we wind down on this one, because when you say talk about 2023, people using who, but there are several images too. For instance, they think that the authorities brought this upon themselves, different ways. But isn't it insensitive to talk about politics, people using the youth to do certain things, when many would have thought, look, if the government had approached these things differently the very first week, would people have taken over, infiltrated the ranks, and then getting us to where we are today?
If we hadn't allowed COVID to come into this country, if we hadn't managed it the way we managed it, if billions of dollars were not to have siphoned as we speak at federal level and some other levels, if our people are not impoverished, we wouldn't have gotten to this level. That's number one. Kogi State has no COVID-19. Kogi State have been doing and have been engaging in various palliatives and empowerment programs. We have been sharing all these items long before now. Out of 21 local government, 20 local governments shared theirs successfully. In Lokoja, they were going on successfully until hoodlums were imported to come.
I was talking about the initial protest about SARS and their brutality to Nigerians, the young people who were protesting, because if you look across the board, many just subscribed to it in principle or partially. They just thought it was about time that something needed to be done. And then the question is, if the authorities had handled it differently, we will not have gotten to where we are today, where you're talking about people taking advantage. So shouldn't government look inwards or look in the mirror in terms of how this degenerated?
I commend Mr. President. I commend the IGP for a swift and for the very first time responding and answering the call and the demands of protesters. SARS was ended. That was the demand. 5 for 5, it was granted. At that point, we should have taken the goods and the gains and get off the streets to have avoided all this looting. That is where we missed it.
What steps were taken at the time that was ended? Do you have a list of the members of SARS and the members of SWAT to distinguish between those two agencies?
I am not the Inspector General of Police, and I'm not Mr. President. But what we know and what you know is that it was 505 that was granted. Mr. President even came to make an announcement to that effect. He announced that SARS was ended, and it is the first step in ensuring that police and other security agencies are reformed.
Yeah, but Your Excellency, I mean, if you as a governor don't have the list of all the members of the SARS, and then SWAT was set up, you don't have the list of those members. So what do you then think people out there will think, saying, wait a minute, if you scrapped SARS, albeit well-intended, if you set up SWAT, again, albeit well-intended, the road to hell is paved with good intention. So isn't it a question of trust, government communicating with the people to let them know that, no, these things are different?
We must learn to trust government, like I said.
But
this is our government, this is our country.
Trust is earned.
Look, excuse me, Chamberlain. Yes, trust is earned. You make a demand and it was granted. You said you didn't ask for the list of all the SARS members?
Do they have to ask for
Did you
it
ask
before
for
they
it?
show to them
You don't ask for the
their
list of all the
intentions?
SWAT. You say answers. You say answers. SARS was ended. And you asked for one was given. So what else?
How
You
did
shoot
you
the
come
goalpost?
to?
Then it
How did
means
you
you are
come to the
never serious about your
conclusion?
demand.
Now, but let's also put this out there. I mean, nobody likes the loss of lives. Nobody likes police formations that are being attacked and policemen being, gruesomely attacked by mobs. Nobody likes those businesses or private individuals who are also being attacked. Nobody wants chaos in any part of the country. Everybody wants peace. The rule of law must take its course. But there are huge questions about how did you come to the conclusion that this is about 2023 or people were being used by who, in addition to the fact that the scenario in Lekki, the shootings in Lekki equally occurred.
When you begin to shift goalposts from 5 to 5 and your list is endless, including all the various political agitations of the past, you don't need the soothsayer to tell you that this is political. It is unfortunate that lives were lost, which ordinarily shouldn't. 5 for 5, 5 for 5 was given.
But
then we should have taken it and then move on from there.
You say you're the number one youth, at the moment. Are you in touch with them?
Yeah.
Do you subscribe? Are you, because they listen to you, they could wonder, they will disagree with you on many pages. So can you say you're in touch with them in terms of what they want and how
Kogi State Youth listens to me because they know they have one of theirs in government. My cabinet are full of youths and women. They listen to me very well. I came out to make a broadcast that it was generally believed, or it was peddled in the media that this NSAS is generic. It's organic. It's organic, and they have no leadership. And I came out and said, I offer that leadership.
Well,
Come to me.
many of them, I want to question you on that, Your Excellency. But there's something that you said I just want to very, very quickly get your response on before we take this break. Now, the federal government had said that the states should supervise the tactical teams in the police tactical teams in their various states. What law do you think supported that? And would you have been able to do it legally?
Very good. Very good. Let me quickly point out to you that in Kogi State, you see, in Kogi State, we do our thing differently. Usually we are proactive. We envisaged, we envisioned, and we take action now. We discovered that there are various cases of human rights violations ever since we came into office. And we came up with this executive bill, which was passed into law. Human rights, what do you call it? Let me just give me. We call it. Public Defenders and Civil Rights Violations Commission. We set it up in Kogi State in 2019. And immediately the issue of NSAS came. We equally, because they were charged with ensuring that any human being whose rights were violated are quickly attended to, and they're free of charge. Then,
all right, Your
in
Excellency.
addition to that, we set up,
Okay, we actually need to wind down, but listening to you, one wonders, when you offer to lead, and if they had accepted, I wonder if there won't be fights every day, because listening to your views, you will be on separate pages with all of them. So I wonder how that leadership would have turned out at the end of the day. But we'll have to anchor at this point.
In Kogi State,
no, I'm talking about generally.
We don't fight. In Kogi State, we don't fight. If we don't fight in Kogi State, where every tribe is represented, metropolitan, the gateway between north and south. If there's no fight, I don't think there'll be fight if I'm leading the Nigerian youth across the country.
We do thank you, Your Excellency Yahaya, Governor of Kogi State, for talking to us this morning.
Thank you very much.
We're back in a moment. Stay with us.